Hello and good morning. My name is Connor Meneses, and this is my presentation on the Ramones Blitzkrieg Bop for Songshare for Music 104 History of American Popular Music, Class 3. So, who were the Ramones? Formed in Queens, New York in 1974, the band originally only consisted of three members, and it was Douglas Colvin who was the first to take inspiration from Paul McCartney and changed his name to Dee Ramone. Paul McCartney used to go by the name Paul Ramone during the early days of the Beatles. Other members of the band would also change their stage names, the first other two being Johnny and Joey Ramone. The band's first drummer would be Thomas Erdelli, who started off as the band's manager. Um, but Joey had to take over as singer, and he couldn't really play the drums and sing at the same time. So during auditions, when they were finding people to take over as drummer, Thomas Erdelli would show the band the auditionees what they were looking for, and then they ended up just realizing that he should probably take over as drummer. So he took over as drummer and went by the stage name Tommy Ramone. They had another drummer after that, Marky Ramone, and then also Richie Ramone. And then whenever Dee Dee left the band in the late 90s, they had Christopher Joseph Ward take over as bassist, and he went by CJ Ramone. So the bop and punk, coming out of the rock wave, the garage rock wave of the 1960s, the Ramones were some of the first to really define what the punk genre sounded like. And Blitzkrieg Bop and other songs like it, especially on their Ramones self-titled debut album, they pretty much formed what punk rock and hardcore of the 70s, 80s, and even parts of the early 90s would really sound like. There's even some pop punk, you could say, of the late 90s and early 2000s that was still inspired by the Ramones. This was the influence they had over the sound and the genre and the style of punk rock. So composition of the bop. So what did it sound like? So songs of the time consisted of slower and softer instrumentation, and usually a lighter sounding lyrics, even just as metaphors. Um, Guitar solos were a major thing in this time. Like you have Jimi Hendrix, the Stones. They all Pink Floyd. They had guitar solos. That was what they did. But Johnny Ramone, the guitarist, we can see here, he did not really care for guitar solos, so they never really played guitar solos in their songs. And it was said that they just like to get straight to the point with their music. They like to just, here's what it is, here's what we're saying, here's how we're doing it. Just really go in fast and hard and get the job done, essentially. And this is the full instrumentation of Blitzkrieg Bop, and this is what the full song sounds like. And yeah, and you see how it's just a lot of downstrokes. Normally, whenever you play a guitar like this, it's just four chords. This was like I said, very simple. So normally when you would play something like this, you would go up down. Da 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 da. But Johnny Ramone, he just liked the downstrokes, and it gives it a faster and a harder and a more in your face kind of feel, and so it's just da 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 da, just really just fast and harsher, really. So the legacy of the bop. So as the Ramones kind of first started off in the 70s and even through the 80s and early 90s, they were commercially they were not very successful. If you had looked at just record sales and like chartings of Ramones songs, you could say that the Ramones were really nothing special in terms of a band. But it's more about the legacy and the impact they had on the sound and the genre over their actual success as a band themselves. And today they're considered one of the best punk bands and one of the best bands period of all time. And Blitzkrieg Bop, of course, it's the most recognizable song today. Not everybody knows Ramones songs, but if you play Blitzkrieg Bop, somebody has usually heard that at least once before. And they might not be able to tell you who it's by or the lyrics, but they've heard Blitzkrieg Bop. And yeah, that's the Ramones. Thank you.